Hi, and welcome to the I Teed Myself podcast. My name is Matthew Miniman, and this is episode 111. What can Hawkins, Indiana teach us about living off the land attacks? And with me today, I have Drum Eltoff in all of his sick, mucusy glory.
Yeah, thanks for calling that out. I was going to try and I didn't know it would notice this raspy ass voice and talking lungs.
Well,
For the intro.
yeah, well, you are the cautionary tale of what happens when small children lick every possible surface they can.
Literally. They're walking germ factories. It's awful.
They share with us now, so we can share with them in the old times. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, to start, do you want to give off your normal boilerplate?
Yeah, no. Anything expressed or stated by me is just my opinion. It does not represent anything or anyone else, any organizations. So, just me talking with my buddy.
Yeah. And, of course, normal South Park-esque disclaimer here. Any opinions are truly my own and intended for satire purposes only. And yeah, don't sue me because, fuck you. This is for entertainment. Come at me, bro. Anyway, Hawkins, Indiana. So, Hawkins, Indiana, it's a small, seemingly innocuous town. I don't know if you've ever been to it. I haven't, obviously. Been to Indiana. Great state. Beautiful state. People suck. Anybody from Indiana?
I thought it wasn't real. I thought it was more like filler spaces on the map. I've never been there.
Well, the dog's name was Indiana, so there's that.
Have you been to a dog?
No, about 5 people will get that, so don't worry.
Okay, well, I think I'm happier with the rest of the world on this one.
His name was Junior. The dog's name was Indiana. Anyway, so Hawkins, Indiana, it's this unassuming town. It has a mall. It's got teenagers. It's got children who get into shit. It's a normal American town. It's the all-American town because, they have a military base or military facility there. They have a research facility. They've got consumerism and Reaganomics and, people playing D&D or the satanic panic going on there all over the place. It's just a normal town in the 80s, man. And it hides a deep, dark fucking secret. And that is that research facility is researching not only MK Ultra, which is crazy, screwing people up with LSD. Man, I wish I could sign up for that today. No, wait. Totally don't.
Thank you. Aren't you running one of these?
Oh, that's the other side project we have. So
right. You hustle, man. You hustle.
Yeah, that's it. Gotta have that grind mentality.
Cybersecurity professional by day, podcaster by morning, and hustler by evening. Oh,
that's right. Deal them psychedelics. Anyway, the whole concept within the research facility that came after the MK Ultra thing was that they were trying to figure out how to establish a connection to alternate dimensions, which is kind of fucking weird. Really, it's odd how you go from MK Ultra to that, but I don't draw barriers. You can get into whatever you're into, man. If you want to try to raise Cthulhu, go ahead, man.
No, it's not kink shaming. Just say, don't open that door to the dimension we don't know anything about. There's some things you might not want to do. And I think that's a problem to say, dude.
So this is where your lack of sense of adventure is really bringing us down, man. You need to have a sense of adventure.
Have you watched any horror movie?
What? The middle-aged white guy always survives.
I mean, fair. But, some trauma, you'd have to have a therapist. It's just, yeah. All right,
Anyway. So, yeah. The whole concept of what's going on in Hawkins is that it's just a normal town until all of a sudden a small thing happens, small thing in the scheme of the town. I'm sure it wasn't small to the people that it happened to, but one of the children goes missing. And this is a significant indicator that the research facility really does its best to try to cover up. Not only does this child go missing, but a known shaven child appears out of nowhere. This other kid can't really speak. They're obviously on the spectrum at some level, and they are kind of picked up wearing nothing but a hospital gown. And all this happens. The guy who takes in this other kid is killed, and there are all of these like events that go unnoticed as far as being linked, but they all end up being linked in the end. And there's a significant amount of loss that happens to the town, right? And of course, there's an adventure because there's always an adventure. You know, it's Goonies with cursing and less adolescent. I don't know. Adolescent romance, maybe the same adolescent romance. I have no idea. It's been a while since I've seen the Goonies. All I remember is there was something where they talked about a squid, and I don't remember a squid in the movie.
There was definitely kissing in the cave system right before they found a pirate ship.
Yeah,
That was identified kissing too.
Yeah, it was kind of awkward, really awkward, and yeah. Anyway, the whole thing is that if you haven't quite identified yet, this is Hawkins, Indiana from Stranger Things, the show. If you haven't seen it yet, I hopefully haven't spoiled too much for you. I've probably spoiled the first episode. You should watch it if you really want to give Netflix, HBO, Warner Brothers more money now. But it's a decent show, and of course, you know, it's all about these kids going to try to find their friend who's disappeared into another dimension. And it starts out with just this innocuous thing. He just goes missing, and nobody's like super concerned because he's in a bad living arrangement. They think he's wandered off somewhere, maybe he fell into the quarry, and they ignore all these other kids like, no, he's just gone. Mike wouldn't do that. He wouldn't just disappear. And so through they stick to it, they investigate, they identify, and they find out what has actually happened to them and get him back. Now, what the hell does this have to do with cybersecurity and, you know, living off the land attacks? Well, first of all, let's go over what a living off the land attack is. You probably have never experienced living off the land attack, right, Jerome?
No, actually, like when you threw that out there, it's like, man, I vaguely remember this, and I had to Google it to catch back up on the concept.
Yeah, and
perspective.
Yeah, and a lot of people, you know, for those people who hate added vernacular for no reason, who hate adding different terms just to add different terms. There is nothing special about a living off the land attack. That's one of the things that from a neophyte perspective, you can get really caught up in the fact that, oh, well, that must be a living off the land attack, and so on and so forth. But for those who have been in the game for a long fucking time, it's not special. This is not a special kind of attack. There was some sort of effort in the 2018, 2019, to push it as a specialized attack, because then people could push more EDR dockets and just make more money off of EDR. Yeah, exactly. And so, and really bulk up their tool because, we protect against living off the land attacks. And so what living off the land attacks are is that you're utilizing applications and utilities that are already installed on your system to perform malicious actions against that system. And there's a couple ways that this goes about. So for instance, in order to add persistence, one of the ways that living off the land, or what we call fileless attacks, go through is they add code directly into your registry. And basically they encode an application into a registry key that can then be pulled out by registry, compiled into an application, and then run out of the registry. And the fileless attack is a new methodology that is actually novel. The living off the land by utilizing the built-in registry editor inside of Microsoft, not so much. That's kind of something that's happened since hacking was a thing. People use the tools that are available on the system. But where we get into kind of where living off the land makes its way into an actual attack methodology is that living off the land doesn't just utilize those built-in tools. It utilizes tools that can be downloaded by the user. So as opposed to a normal attack where I give you malware and you run that malware, living off the land attack is I get access to your system some way, and I utilize this benign tool, Notepad, to completely own your system. And that's kind of the difference there between a normal attack and a living off the land attack. So for those who are taking that CISA test, that's going to be the answer. Living off the land attack is always where you are using a tool that's already installed on a system. Not to be confused with the Trojan, because Trojans are condoms. And
they're custom code packages that mask something else, usually a reverse shell. Wrong podcast, Matthew. Wrong podcast.
Fair enough.
And your ads are for the other thing.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for that. I'm still waiting for that Trojan sponsorship. I will hawk their goods. Protect.
No, let's just move on. Hey,
I don't want to give them free ad time.
Not yet. They got to pay you. So I did want to throw out, in case people aren't 100% sure what the registry is, they probably heard the term thrown around all the damn time, but it's basically the point of authority for Windows to know how the hell to think about itself and its hardware. So if somebody can get into that and muck around with it, there's almost nothing you can do as a user on that platform because your operating system's shop is owned.
Yeah. And you know what? One of these days, I'll probably make an episode on the registry and probably bore a bunch of people with exactly how to utilize and what it's used for, and what's contained in there.
Ooh.
Yeah. Library upon library.
But it's you can actually the library. Sorry, the library is a great analogy because it's literally just like, go look up this thing. This is the answer. Look up this thing. This is the answer.
Yeah.
And like Matthew, you're saying, like, if somebody corrupts right there, your operating system's going to ignore everything else, and you're never going to notice.
Yeah, the registry can be authoritative, and that's where the danger is. But along with all of that, when you are subject to a living off the land attack, it can be very difficult for you to defend against it, specifically because a lot of preemptive tools don't fucking work. They don't fucking work because most traditional antiviruses go off of signature-based and heuristic-based identification, which is kind of shitty in this regard because all the attacker is doing is running stuff that should be normally run on your system. As a user, you have an inherent trust with Microsoft for their operating system. I mean, you shouldn't, but you totally do. You trust Microsoft and all of their applications to run in your system. Otherwise, you wouldn't be running anything. You would have to constantly sign off on everything that was run at all times. So there is this inherent trust with Microsoft that everything that they've run is valid. But in the really grand scheme of things, that can be very difficult to detect because now you have applications that normally run on a system or are okay to run on your system. And they're doing things that cannot be seen. And that can be really difficult to understand how to detect. And which is why that used to be one of the harder things to prevent. So now we've moved into this other layer of protection called enhanced detection and response and managed detection and response. And it sounds like I'm selling you guys shit. And if it does, I'm sorry, but this is really the way that this is the way that these mechanisms actually work. So enhanced detection and response, what it does is it looks at each individual process and what is running. It actually looks at the information that is being run as far as this process is doing this. And the beauty of that is that EDR can utilize libraries and libraries of normal behavior for applications and identify when an application is doing something that it doesn't normally do. So it can see when an attacker loads something onto a system and is attempting to run malicious code against your shit. And this is how EDRs function. This is how they protect you. MDR is the next step. So there are circumstances where an attacker might run code that the EDR doesn't identify as malicious. It sees a registry edit. It sees this normal code, and it can't identify that is out of place because, well, it's doing a normal reg add, it's doing normal code injection, but those can be malicious in the back end, and the only way to identify them is to identify them as malicious by human eyes. Obviously, there's AI and all that shit. Everybody the world today is trying to change how MDR works, but it really ultimately is just some dude sees the information and says, "Hey, that doesn't look right," and raises the flag.
Yeah.
So those are the current like detection mechanisms for it.
Well, that's what makes it so insidious. Like this platform, Microsoft Paint, you're supposed to use it to paint pixels, and someone figured out how to paint pixels or like to remote access your computer with no admin rights and like paint, but somehow the paint is being transcribed in the background into some other thing. But
yeah,
if your protection software is like, well, paint's just paint away, and that's what's so insidious. It's like you were crafty enough to figure out how to use something that we all take for granted or that we all accept and as part of the normal operating, and somehow figured out a way to make it work maliciously in the background. And
yeah,
and none of our defenses know it can really. None of our defenses can automate figuring out the intent. If it's not super duper obvious, then how do you know it's not just I am playing around in paint because I'm in a boring meeting, as opposed to around in paint to do something malicious?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's like telling intent. It's like telling intent from looking at somebody's footsteps in the snow. Like that's kind of what it is. Why was this person walking this direction? Like just looking at the footsteps in the snow, you can't tell why somebody was doing whatever the hell they were doing. You could probably infer it from additional information around you, but that's basically what we have to do here. It's like we have to gather all these different pieces of information to identify whether it's malicious or not, because we're kind of staring at this information. And also this is like these are the breadcrumbs. These are the little pieces of information, the events that occur that can tell us that there might be something going on, because we see, oh, hey, this application isn't running this, or this application has never done this before in the history of this system. It's never run it's never run this application this way. Is basically like, hey, Mike has disappeared. It's that kind of event where it's unique, it's different, it has an effect, and it probably shouldn't be ignored. We should probably investigate why this kid ran away and where he's gone, rather than just ignore, his friends who say, yeah, he didn't run away.
To throw out another movie reference, it just clicked in my head, the classic Airplane. At one point, there's making a joke about the lady and her husband are traveling together, and he orders a third cup of coffee or something. And in her head, she's like, wait, Matthew never has a third cup of coffee at home. And the running guy is like, she notices something about her partner's behavior multiple times throughout the movie, and like in her head, she has that monologue. But that's kind of what I hear you saying like your experience, and Matthew has lots of experience watching his like security environments, and he's like, wait, no, something is. Maybe he can't put his finger exactly on what it was, but like something isn't quite right. We need to look more at this thing, the footprints of the snow or the paint, because something is not how it normally is. But no alarms are going off.
Yeah, exactly. And now, just like in Hawkins, this kid shows up, this random kid shows up, and that's when all of a sudden these alarms are going off. But at this point, it's already too late. The upside down has been opened up, and
Awkward.
things are happening in the town that are causing other issues. People are dying. Cats and dogs are sleeping together. Man, I'm full of the 80s. We're full of the 80s references today. Anyway, so there are a couple of really pretty significant examples of. There are a lot of examples of living off the land attacks, and probably one of the biggest ones has happened actually in the past couple of years. And this is an attack that is actually currently still going on right now, and it has resulted in some of the largest data breaches in history. It's called Scattered Spider, and Scattered Spider is a specific. They're specifically an attack group that has been targeting multiple organizations. They've hacked such organizations like Victoria's Secret. They've also gotten WestJet, the co-op in the UK, Marks and Spencer, Adidas. They've gotten quite a few folk and breached quite a few folk and gotten internal information, customer information, and really done a lot of harm to the world. And it's somewhere estimated that they've now approximated probably about $5.2 billion in damages. So that number's probably made up because damages are a loose term. Fines are included in damages, and so those are completely made up. They just pull a number out of the hat when they issue fines. But the way that Scattered Spider is working is that they basically impersonate an employee working at the organization through a phone call. They call the support desk and then basically impersonate as an employee and gain access to remote systems using normal support tools, whether it be, it always comes down to social engineering.
It's people. People are the weakest link.
They are. You are the weakest link. Oh man, I bumped into the 2000s. Anyway, the whole concept with the Scattered Spider is that they use common tools, things that are normal, legitimate support tools. ConnectWise is a legitimate support company. They use that. They utilize TeamViewer, which is legitimate, though should probably never be installed in an enterprise environment. Sorry, TeamViewer, your tool sucks. They utilize Rust Desk. They utilize remote app. They utilize a lot of these different things that are normal support tools, normal support functionalities that are allowed to be installed at the user level 99% of the time. And these organizations are totally unprepared for this. They are totally unprepared for how to respond when they get this call from somebody who says they're from support, and they don't allow for this kind of circumstance to come about where, oh yeah, somebody's posing as support. We know how to respond to this. We know how to verify that they're from support. We also can trust in our tools to block that kind of access, which is bad because that leads to these organizations, these massive organizations getting hacked. So, that's a huge one. Like I said, it's billions of dollars lost in damages to this one specific hack. Now, I personally have had a living off the land attack occur. I've actually had a couple occur in my environments, but I had one very recently where it's this company that are a construction company, and because they're a construction company, they're a primary contractor, general contractor for a lot of contracts. And in order to do business, they have to communicate very regularly out with teams with their subcontractors. That's how they choose to communicate out. So their environment requires that they have their teams open so that somebody can communicate from outside of the organization. They can just say, "Hey, I want to talk to Randy," and so that they can access Randy's Teams chat from their own teams, even though that they're not part of the same organization. Well, what happened is that a person within this organization received another Teams chat from somebody claiming to be their IT. And this person, what they did, it was actually pretty smart as far as social engineering goes, is they sent them 3 messages all at once. One was a link, another one was a 6-digit code, and then another one was like a 12-digit code. And it's really smart because then what they did is they called this person through Teams, and they were like, "Hey, I'm part of your IT support team. Have you gotten a lot more spam recently?" And the person's like, "Yeah, of course I have. Everybody gets spam." And so then they're like, "Cool. Well, I need you to click on the link that I sent you, and I need you to enter the code in there. And then if you could read me the 12-digit verification code, that would be great." And the way this works is it really does trick that person into believing that this is a legitimate support call. Well, what ended up happening is that the link that they clicked on was a link to a Microsoft Store app called RimSup, which is a legitimate remote support tool. This is a company that actually does sell their tool as a remote support tool. It's a commercial product. It's not very well known. It's not very big, but it is there. And because it was through the Microsoft Store, the user was able to install it in their own context. So they didn't need administrative control over it. So then what happened was they installed the remote support tool. They got the person connected. And as soon as the other person got connected, the user smartly asked, they said, "Hey, could you tell me who you were with again?" And when they couldn't even say the company who they were talking to's name, that's when the user became suspicious. And so
they became suspicious.
Well,
I mean, prompts. I'm glad it did kick in eventually, but yeah, okay.
They finally were like, "Oh yeah, I don't know who the hell you are." And they finally asked the question, but that was too late because they'd already given that person access. But the good news is that they caught it within like 15 seconds, that person gaining access to the system, which is good. So 15 seconds isn't a huge amount of time. It's enough time for stuff to happen, but not enough time for them to gain much control or even see anything that was on the system. Luckily, this user didn't have anything. Yeah. That's important. Yeah, they weren't able to pivot. Now, I won't say that there wasn't enough time for them to possibly pivot, but they didn't have really a whole lot of time to do much.
Yeah, this is just a numbers game. I mean, in the last couple of podcasts, you mentioned how like you're not big enough, or you think you're not big enough to be hacked, but you're really not big enough to be a story, which is a great freaking line, by the way. I loved it. But like, it's numbers. These tools don't cost much. Hiring botnets, hiring people just to run the scripts, like other than 0 days, which are hard and complicated, most shit is just churning numbers.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they got access for 15 seconds. And like the dude from Swordfish with like 6 keyboards running at the same time, he probably could have taken over the entire world in 15 seconds. But in reality, they're like, okay, cool. We'll just move this over to their hacker Kanban board and move it from initial to exploit, and the next team will take over.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I do have to say that they did that even though they were able to catch within 15 seconds, what did end up happening is that the attacker was able to run code against the machine. It seems like they had probably, as part of the agent install portion of the support request, they probably had a script run in the background that was as part of the initialization process. because you can do that. You can say when this gets installed and I gain access, run this script first, just to basically prep the environment. A lot of remote support tools have that.
Yes, and I realized that I wasn't trying to imply like a human would actually be in the loop for the next step. That's a great point. It wasn't just like, oh, wait forever or whatever, but it's yeah. So,
yeah. Well, the whole point was is that because that happened, they were able to run code, and it was malicious. Like they attempted to establish persistence at that point, which was amazing because they did it really quickly. So that's what tells me it was automated, because whoever this attacker was absolutely too lazy to go for a big tool like ConnectWise or anything else. They were using RemSup, which you can sign up for a free trial and use that for, like, I think it's 15 days for free, and then they start billing you. But anyway, the whole point here being is they ran the code, and when they ran the code, it was undetectable until the EDR caught it. So we had our EDR installed on the system, and we identified that this code was run by the EDR being like, hey, this registry was added. What the fuck? And it rose the alarm. It was like, hey, we got a problem here, which was, all of the children in Hawkins telling them that, hey, Mike ran away. This isn't normal. And so when you investigate that and you see, oh yeah, they did do something here, then you can go and look and see if there's any other footprints they left. Luckily, again, because it was only 15 seconds, that was really the only thing they were able to do. There were no other identification. There was no other identification of any malicious activity or anything like that on the system. We did a lot of scans on that. After that, did all the digging and logging aggregation, and man, had to go back through the event viewer. Anyway, it was a long, arduous process, which, yeah, that sucked. That's what all response is. What all incident response is. It's a long, arduous process that ends up with a lot of paperwork.
And hope.
Yeah.
I hope we got it all. I hope we scraped all that dead tissue out of the injury.
And what did we learn there? So yeah. And I've talked about your incident response before, and how incident response should always include a what did we learn, what can we do better section. And yeah, and for this, the what did we do, what can we do better, one of the things that we identified in this, and that you should, if you are working in your environment looking to prevent these attacks in the future and make sure that these types of things don't happen, implement something called App Locker. So App Locker is an application, or it's a group policy configuration that allows you to prevent apps from running unless they are run by an administrator. And you can basically run this configuration and say anything that's run out of app data, which is where all the local user data information is typically run out of. Anything in local app data that can be run, don't allow it to be run unless it's these specific things. So you can target like, hey, I want to allow Teams to run. I want to allow Microsoft products to run, but I don't want to let anything run out of app data or App Locker or app data, whatever. And what the benefit of this app is that, like, I don't know, if you want somebody, if somebody decides that they're going to install like Spotify on their computer, they can't. Like that's kind of the most frequent complaint I get about this. Well, I want to listen to Spotify. Well, your policy says you can't. So tough luck. Yeah. Good job telling me you don't really care about your own security, that sort of thing. But it does prevent this type of environment where where an attacker gets in, they want to run malicious code. And it also blocks about 90% of all ransomware, because all ransomware kind of starts in that app data location on a system. But then this actual circumstance wouldn't have been stopped by that, because I don't know if you know this, but the Microsoft Store isn't run out of app data. The Microsoft Store actually installs apps directly into program files, which, as you can identify, is not the same as app data. And this is a problem because Microsoft has this gigantic security hole that allows users to run random shit without any sort of oversight. Well, somebody at Microsoft What?
I hate the app store or the Microsoft store. Like it needs to be either better curated or just shut down.
Yeah. Well,
Such a vulnerability.
Microsoft has at least admitted the problem. So they're in that first step of recovery, at least. They've admitted that there's a problem. And the problem that they've admitted to is they have allowed administrators to shut down apps that are run out of the App Store. And so there are group policies, there are configurations where you can prevent non-administrative users from running or installing apps from Microsoft's App Store. And that is the configuration that we changed in this environment for this specific circumstance, because it's this glaring security hole. It's one of these things that users can install whatever they want. And moreover, there are multiple apps on there that can be deemed as malicious. In fact, there is a Sudoku app that Microsoft has on there. It's branded as Microsoft, and it serves up ads as you play Sudoku. And this specific Sudoku app also does no vetting of any of the ads it shows you. So you get about a 1 in 1,000 chance of getting served a malicious ad. So thank you, Microsoft. Thank you for allowing me to stop you from hurting me.
You put with a sidecar of malicious intent.
That's it. Yeah. That's so wonderful. But yeah, and in the end, this is all the whole Hawkins, Indiana thing and MK Ultra. Like, you have this malicious entity that is inside of your town, and unfortunately, this whole research facility is kind of the lifeblood of this town. Because as stuff starts to shut down, it's like this town starts suffering. The mall closes. The teenagers have nowhere to go. They start wrecking things up. At least that's what I believe. I don't know. I haven't watched the latest episode. I've only read the clip notes.
I haven't seen any season whatever they're on. I don't know.
Well, that's because we have children who will not allow us to watch shows, and who we are semi-responsible parent
who lick every surface and give you all the germs.
If you can't tell, we have just shiny opinions of our own children.
I love
you guys,
which might be very soon. I do want to point out one thing though: the living off the land, the acronym is LOTL, and ocelotls, cute little cartoon animals, not very cute lizards or salamanders, wherever they are, but they're really cute as cartoons. That is my main takeaway from Googling before this episode. I didn't bring very much to this episode.
Well, you allowed me to rant and rave, and now you've brought the axolotl, which is absolutely key, because without an axolotl, I don't know when I'm gonna waddle. Or, I don't know where I was going with that. I was going to make something funny out of it.
Nope.
Yeah, lyrical genius that I am.
Mm-hmm. I know to put it.
Hey, I have the same initials. M, and M. Shut up.
And with that note, here's a word from the sponsors at Trojan Condom Company.
Hey, I'm still waiting for the check.
Oh, no.
The check's got to clear first.
They're paying me.
Oh, what a bastard. Curse you, capitalism. Anyway.
And my an inevitable betrayal.
Well, before this gets any further off the rails, I think that's all we have time for today, guys. I hope you all have a great day.
Ciao.